If you are watching this video right now, I need you to stop what you are doing for just a few minutes and pay very close attention, because what we are about to discuss could affect your financial security, your immigration future, and in some cases, your entire life in the United States. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning, reaching for your phone, opening your banking app, and discovering that every dollar in your checking account, savings account, and business account has suddenly become inaccessible. No warning, no phone call, no explanation that makes sense in the moment. Your debit card is declined. Your online banking access is restricted. Automatic payments begin failing. Rent is due. Employees are waiting for payroll. Family members overseas are expecting support. Yet your money is effectively frozen. For many people, that sounds like something that only happens to criminals, international fraudsters, or major corporations under investigation. But according to recent enforcement actions and growing concerns within immigrant communities across the United States, the reality is much more complicated, and that is exactly why today's discussion is so important. Over the last several years, federal agencies have dramatically expanded their use of financial monitoring tools designed to identify suspicious transactions, money laundering activity, tax violations, structuring schemes, and other financial crimes. These enforcement efforts are not new. The Bank Secrecy Act has existed for decades. Financial institutions have long been required to report certain transactions to the government. What has changed is the intensity of enforcement, the sophistication of monitoring systems, and the speed at which authorities can now identify patterns that they believe deserve investigation. For immigrants, green card holders, naturalized citizens, DACA recipients, visa holders, small business owners, and families who regularly send money overseas, this topic has become especially sensitive. Many immigrants maintain financial ties to their home countries. They support parents, children, siblings, and relatives abroad. They own property in another country. They receive inheritances. They transfer funds for education expenses, medical emergencies, business investments, or family obligations. These activities are often completely legal, completely legitimate, and completely understandable. Yet under certain circumstances, patterns of transactions can trigger reviews that many people never expected. What makes this situation particularly alarming is that most people do not realize they have crossed a line until after a bank has already flagged their account. They assume that because they earn their money honestly, because they pay taxes, because they have never been arrested, and because they have nothing to hide, they are automatically protected from scrutiny. Unfortunately, that is not always how the system works. Federal financial regulations do not necessarily focus on whether someone is a good person or a bad person. Instead, they focus on transaction patterns, reporting requirements, documentation, and compliance rules. A transaction that appears completely innocent to you may look unusual to an automated monitoring system. A series of deposits that seem perfectly logical from your perspective may trigger concerns from a compliance officer reviewing account activity. The result can be months of stress, financial disruption, and uncertainty. Now, before we go any further, I want to be absolutely clear about something. This video is not intended to create panic. It is not intended to convince you that the government is targeting immigrants. It is not intended to suggest that every bank account is at risk. Instead, this video is designed to give you information, awareness, and practical steps that can help you avoid common mistakes and better understand the financial rules that apply to everyone living in the United States. Knowledge is one of the most valuable forms of protection available to you. When you understand how the system works, you can make informed decisions. When you know the warning signs, you can address issues before they become serious problems. And when you understand your rights and responsibilities, you are in a much stronger position to protect yourself, your family, and your future. One of the biggest areas of confusion involves something known as structuring. Many people have heard the term before, but very few truly understand what it means. Structuring occurs when transactions are intentionally broken into smaller amounts in a way that appears designed to avoid reporting requirements. The important thing to understand is that federal authorities may examine patterns rather than individual transactions. For example, imagine a small business owner who regularly deposits cash revenue into a bank account. If that business owner consistently deposits amounts just below a reporting threshold, investigators may ask why those amounts always seem to stay under a particular level. Even if the individual believes they are simply making convenient deposits, the pattern itself can attract attention. This is where many immigrants encounter unexpected problems. They receive advice from friends, relatives, neighbors, or online forums. Someone tells them not to deposit too much cash at one time. Someone else recommends breaking transactions into smaller amounts. Another person claims that staying below a certain number will prevent government reporting. These suggestions are often based on rumors, misunderstandings, or outdated information. Following that advice can sometimes create more problems than simply conducting normal, transparent transactions through established banking channels. Financial institutions are trained to identify unusual patterns. Modern compliance systems analyze activity across extended periods of time. What might seem like a clever shortcut can actually become a significant red flag. The same principle applies to international money transfers. Millions of Americans and lawful immigrants send money overseas every year. Supporting family members abroad is common and perfectly legal. However, documentation matters, records matter, consistency matters. When financial institutions review activity, they often look for explanations that make sense and can be verified. Think about it from the perspective of an investigator reviewing thousands of accounts. They do not personally know you. They do not know your family. They do not understand your personal circumstances. All they see are transaction histories, transfer amounts, account activity, and supporting documentation. Their job is to determine whether activity appears consistent with lawful financial behavior. This is why record-keeping has become more important than ever. If you support family overseas, keep records. If you receive funds from relatives, keep records. If you pay immigration attorneys, consultants, or service providers, keep receipts. If you operate a cash-intensive business, maintain accurate accounting records. Documentation transforms a confusing transaction history into a clear, understandable story. Another issue that many people overlook involves foreign financial accounts. Some immigrants maintain savings accounts, retirement accounts, or investment accounts in their countries of origin. Others inherit property or receive financial assets from family members abroad. In certain situations, U.S. law may require reporting these assets even if the money never enters the United States. Many people fail to comply simply because they never knew the requirement existed. They assume that an account located outside the United States is irrelevant to U.S. authorities. Unfortunately, that assumption can create significant complications. Financial reporting obligations are complex, and ignorance of the rules is rarely accepted as a complete defense. The reality is that today's financial environment is more interconnected than ever before. Banks share information. Governments cooperate internationally. Compliance systems have become increasingly sophisticated. Activities that once went unnoticed for years can now be identified much more quickly. For immigrants pursuing citizenship, this issue can become even more important. Naturalization applicants often undergo extensive background reviews. Financial issues do not automatically prevent citizenship, but unresolved legal problems, tax concerns, or allegations of misconduct can create additional scrutiny during an already detailed review process. That is why prevention is always better than reaction. It is far easier to maintain proper records, follow reporting requirements, and seek professional advice when necessary than it is to defend yourself after a problem has already emerged. As we continue through this video, we're going to break down exactly how financial monitoring works, the most common mistakes immigrants make without realizing it, the warning signs that should never be ignored, and the practical steps you can take today to reduce risk and protect yourself. We will also discuss how these issues can intersect with immigration status, citizenship applications, business ownership, and long-term financial security in the United States. Because at the end of the day, this is not just about regulations or compliance. It is about protecting the life you have worked so hard to build. It is about making sure that a misunderstanding, a paperwork mistake, or bad financial advice does not create problems that could have been avoided. And most importantly, it is about ensuring that you and your family remain informed, prepared, and confident in an environment where the rules are becoming increasingly complex.